Guys, so I'm gonna start this off by saying I have a pretty bad cold, so if I sound like garbage, that's why, but it's not gonna stop me from trying to get the hydraulic handbrake mounted in the car. I have some really cool ideas. I'm gonna mock it up and see what I come up with. Might have to cut into the dash a bit, kind of by the shifter, but I think that's probably the best bet. Ted's gonna be doing some cool stuff to his engine. He's test fitting the RB26 covers and stuff like that. So it's a good day. So my plan for right now is to basically just notch out this part of the dash, kind of from right here and then across here, so that this can sit basically here but lower. And then I'm gonna have a bracket come off the transmission tunnel with a flat and then the two bolts, and then I'll have it like gusseted to the tunnel. It might actually just come right off the transmission tunnel, to be honest, depending on where it is. It might just be the right height, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. I think the first step, I just have to notch this out. I might take this off first. That's probably smart. I'm probably gonna pull this off. So I got that front panel off, and I'm gonna trim this dash and these 2 points, and then I'm gonna figure out where I'm gonna weld to on the transmission tunnel. I'm gonna start fabbing up the bracket. So I kind of miscut a little here. I wanted to leave this little spot because it would have allowed me to drill in or have the bolt hole for the dash still. So I'm gonna have to figure out a little way to make a little bracket. So I just don't want this wiggling around too much. I mean, it'll be perfectly fine. So my plan is to figure out where I want to put the handbrake and then make the start the bracket. I'm probably gonna make it like a fully sectioned piece and have like a flat piece of metal. And then I'll cut holes in that metal, and then I can weld those holes and then the outside to the transmission tunnel, get it nice and rigid. Either that or I'll bolt through the transmission tunnel here, but I'd honestly prefer to weld it because I don't see myself removing it anytime soon. I'll figure that out when I get there. The other thing is, when I threw this dash in, I just put nuts behind here, and it made it a real pain to take off. So I have a riv nut tool. I'm gonna drill these out a little bit. Also, get some riv nuts in here, and then the bolts will just go right through it, so I don't have to worry about getting behind there with anything. So this plate is going to sit somewhere in this kind of height range. I'm not sure exactly yet. Probably going to be somewhere like this. So I'm going to have one plate like this and then another one kind of like this to it. And then I'm going to tack it so I can get the angle right. And then I'm going to weld some gussets, and then I can drill my holes. And then I'm going to weld it to the tunnel. And that'll go like that. Sweet. So now I'm just going to check this angle I just tacked and see if it's close. If not, I'm going to tap it back a bit, and then I can weld that on there. Let's see. Alright, so it's a bit too much. Just a hair. I want it to be more like that. So I got to tap it down a bit. So that's pretty much it right there. And that's flush with the transmission tunnel. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fully weld these two plates together, And then I'm going to drill some holes for the handbrake, and I'm going to try tacking it in the car, seeing how I like it, messing with it that way, and then when I'm all done and I finally like it, I can weld the gussets in and then finish welding it in the car, painting it up, stuff like that. That first piece welded together, grind it down. So this is going to sit right somewhere in this height. I'm going to have to trim this a bit, so that's why it's kind of getting stuck up there, but it's going to sit somewhere on this face here. It'll probably end up being like that, to be honest. Something like that. And then that way, grab the handbrake. The handbrake will sit something like that. So it's like notched into the dash. It'll clear here in the back, and then all I have to do is trim out that teal panel to kind of hug the handbrake, and it'll look really nice. And then I'm gonna figure out where I want to put this, make sure it's level, and then I can adjust the pitch of that with the throw of the piston, and then, you know, whatnot. I might even trim this so it hugs the front, but I kind of like how it sits kind of flush. I don't know. I'll figure that out later. But I'll probably just make this part straight, and then I might even trim this. But for now, I'm liking this. So I have it sitting right now about where I want to have it. You can see that that bracket fits really nice. That should be sweet. And then I'll just trim that plate around it as close as I can get comfortably. I might also trim, I don't know if you can see there's like a gap. I kind of want that like dash piece. Well, I mean, it doesn't look like it's crooked at all, but we'll see. Never mind. I might just ignore what I just said. Do some cleanup on this. This is coming out sick. So now I have that all tacked in. This is in the perfect place. That feels awesome. I can still adjust the position of this based on the throw in the piston here. I don't really even have to trim this. I want this little lip here to sit under here, kind of like, it's kind of hard to see, but I'm just gonna like shave this down with like a knife so it just sits like kind of like that. I'll be happy with that. So it doesn't feel like it has to kink out of the way. But other than that, this is really cool. It's going to be really tough to weld to there just because of how thin that metal is, but I think if I take it slow and I give it plenty of surface area, I think I'll be able to do it. That is sick. I also want to oblong the hole, probably in the front and the back, just so I have a little more flexibility of the angle. If I want to change it or if I'm getting too close to something, I have that option. But overall, I'm stoked. So I'm gonna pull this off again. I'm gonna hit off the tacks, and then I'm gonna go put a gusset kind of in the middle. I'm gonna drill out the holes for where I'm gonna weld, oblong these holes, and kind of do a bunch of other stuff. But I'll probably be a bunch of time lapses because I don't feel like talking much anymore. I feel like garbage, but this makes me feel good. Motivation is tough when you're sick, but I've wanted to put this in because it was like the final touch of the interior, and it's just cheering me up. So, I thought I had a time lapse going. I guess I didn't. Ignore the garbage welds. I couldn't get the settings right when I was in there. There's a lot of fuzz from a cloth I tried wiping off. But I cut some big holes so I have a little more surface area to weld some tiny tacks to the thin sheet metal. I drilled these holes out a little bit bigger. And I'm gonna go try to stick this in. It should come out pretty good. I mean, it looks like garbage, but it doesn't need to look great. You're not gonna see any of this. Sick. So I just threw some primer on this. I don't think I mentioned it in a video, but I've made the decision that I'm actually gonna throw some carpet back in the front. I'm kind of done with the just, you know, raw painted metal thing. I mean, it's great for weight reduction and I'm fine with it in the back. But when I had my Miata, I just hated like my feet slipping around and just the hot metal and stuff. And so I think I'm gonna get like a universal carpet for the front. So that being said, I really don't care if this matches, but I'm trying to think if I should paint it like just a satin black. So that part that sticks through will be satin black, or if I wanna paint it the teal, because you'll see that next to the, I think the black will be a good contrast. Yeah, I'm gonna do satin black. So that's it, all bolted up. I will say I'm a little disappointed with the side-to-side kind of flex. Like if I really push on this, you can see that it just flexes the transmission. It's kind of hard to see. Can't see it there. No. Transmission's thin. You know, I welded this to some thin metal. You can just see it moving. I can't deal with this. I'm gonna pull this off, all this seal and stuff I made, and I'm gonna try to grind it down a bit and weld it so it's kind of rolls over onto the transmission tunnel, because I won't be able to deal with that. I mean, granted, in this direction it's really good, but like the side-to-side flex is just not great. You know, I don't want to be able to do that. That's using a lot of force, but. So I'm gonna pull it apart and see if I can strengthen it up a bit. Again, please go easy on me, but I threw the thickest bead that I could possibly put between the bracket and the 2-plied transmission tunnel piece. And yeah, now it's not going anywhere. That's rigid as hell. Now the only play is in the handle, which is normal. That's awesome. Sick. So now I'm gonna try to throw a little bit of paint on this. Oh man, I made a mess, haven't I? So I made this quick template for how I'm gonna trim that panel. I was gonna get a little more kind of water lined, but I figured it'd be best to just kind of keep it simple. So I'm gonna trace that out and trim it and try to fit it. Hopefully everything works. Got the bracket cut, everything back together. I think it looks pretty sweet.
I think so.
You think so?
Yeah. Let's go back there.
Oh yeah. This is pretty good. Is that filming right now?
What?
Is it recording?
Yeah.
This is actually really good. Like, I don't hit this. I'm pretty happy with it.
You just shifted so hard you moved the car.
Yeah, I'm sending it. Oh, I also didn't show it, but I went under the car to look at the kind of the shifter thing, and I did have like just some bolts sitting in there, so I found a better one and tightened it up. And now it's not as bad. Like it actually kind of stays in gear and not much play. It's still not great. Like third is still
Garbage.
Yeah, that seems like it's all internal to the shift selector and the transmission. I don't feel like tearing apart that right now, so this will do for now. I'm really happy with this, because it's probably not, it's not going to come all the way down to here. It's going to be like that. And it's just such a good wrap.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a little annoying that the switches are like right there, but it's not that bad, you know. Now it's the awkward moment where I have to move my exhaustless drift car into that bay. It's gonna be loud. I'm gonna film this for the lulz.
Well, you just threw the thing across the garage.
Tall for the shit. So that'll do it for this one, guys. Sorry I was all over the place. Again, not feeling super great today, but I really wanted to get something done, and I feel like that was like one of the hardest things left to do on the car, was put that handbrake in and fab up that bracket. And although it wasn't the best thing in the world, like I said, I'm not the greatest welder. I'm actually a pretty shitty welder, but I made something work and I'm really happy about it, and the dash looks pretty sweet. So what's up next? I have to, there's a bunch of little things actually. I mean, first off, with the dual calipers, I have to run brake line, because now I have the dual calipers set up in the hydro, so I just have to run the brake line to a T and split it. I want to go over and just make sure all the bolts in the whole car are like extra tight, because there's a bunch of stuff like that shifter that I found out I didn't tighten down, and I really shouldn't have even driven it around as much as I did, but I want to just make sure that nothing's going to happen. I want to get a new throttle cable. What else? I want to weld some of the holes shut on the car from bolt holes and stuff for all the different wings this car's had. Like I said in this video, I want to put some carpet back in the car. I want to figure out something with that shifter unless I just decide I'm happy with it, but we're not sure. Ted's been painting some stuff on his engine today. Not much to film yet on that, but hopefully we'll have some stuff for the next RB video. But yeah. Oh yeah, and I have to do an exhaust. I'm just gonna do a little flex pipe and a resonator, and then back to the Y to 2.5 that I have now. So instead of the big muffler with the Y built in, I'm just gonna make a 3-inch in to 2.5 inch out little Y section and run that out. So it's just gonna be a single resonator instead of that giant muffler, which I think will make it sound a hell of a lot better. Ted, you got anything? I'm so out of it right now. Ugh. So if you still managed to enjoy this video, please hit the like button. If you want to follow along with my RX-7, Ted Z, my Z, hit subscribe and hit that little bell if you want to get an email when I post. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.